Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's show. If you're downloading today's show on time, around the published date, it is March 21st, 2019. And you may have noticed that there wasn't a show on the 19th, which is normally when this show comes out on a Tuesday. And the reason for that is because Doug Sandler, my partner, his brother passed away last week. And so I flew cross country and have been attending the funeral and the Shivas attached to the family and the funeral. And there just wasn't any time from the time he passed and booking all these flights and everything that's going on in the world with the aircrafts being grounded, all those 737s. So it's been just a little bit of a challenge to get out and then even to get back. So I just wanted to say thank you for your patience. You know that there are plenty of shows for you to enjoy here on this channel as well as my other channels. And I wanted to make today's show short and sweet. Next week, you will get 2 shows again, and I'll stick to that schedule as often as I can. So in my 30-day manifestation challenge, one of the participants who listens to this show, Johanna said that she was feeling good. She checked in one of the days and said she was feeling good, letting herself kind of unfold. She's been a bit everywhere. However, on that thought, I was wondering, JJ Flazanes, how are you able to manage all the podcast content and personal life mixture? You seem very passionate, which I can resonate with. However, you seem very action-oriented. I would like to know how you are able to juggle all with such confidence. Also, I would love more information on the couples retreat you're doing. Thank you. So I wondered if this was a good enough topic. And first I will say, for those of you, and a lot of you do know this, I don't have kids. So that's the first thing. Many of you have kids. So your focus is your kids. And my focus is my business. However, I will tell you that in my marriage, there were times when my love language is quality time, and my soon-to-be ex-husband's was not. And as we started to drift apart, as he retreated sort of away from me, there was a lot of time spent not doing things together. And so if he was watching a television show or something that I wasn't interested in, I would work. And so you can say I was a workaholic. I wasn't trying to be, but it just came down to efficiency. Because I love what I do, I enjoy this. I enjoy having these conversations. I enjoy having these conversations, interactions online with all of you who want to participate. I love hearing that the work that I'm passionate about makes a difference in your life. And I love hearing about your successes when you apply some of these principles, and also to share how they worked for you. So I don't have a job. I have a career and I have a passion, and I am passionate about it. And in terms of the confidence of juggling, just to give you on a logistics side, so I still see clients, as many of you know. I do one-on-one sessions, and I do have a handful of clients who I still see one-on-one in person locally in Southern California. They've been with me for a long time, and until there really is a need to replace those time slots somehow, I just don't want to abandon them. And so as long as I can do it one-on-one in person, I will do it. I'm not adding anyone new into the mix, really, in person. Most of my clients happen remote, so I can do it from anywhere. So with that said, I do have a certain schedule that I have to keep. I have some of those clients on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings, which leaves me with, as I got more and more into podcasting, I needed to take a day to record, because what I noticed was that when I left the house to work with clients, my energy was very dispersed. I got distracted easily. I got tired. My energy got zapped. I wasn't inspired. I've noticed over the years that when I had a day off, or when I had a day that I didn't have to deal with clients in the morning, and I got to sleep in a little bit, I got to be in my pajamas. And mind you, in my marriage, my husband would leave the house to go to work. So I would have the house to myself. Very, very different when Doug moved in. Very different in good and in ways I had to get used to. So I would have this quiet time, and that tended to be when I got the most inspired. So I noticed that I recorded shows much more efficiently. I was in the zone. I was inspired. I had great ideas. I was in this whole creative juices space when I would have the ability to sleep in, really, and to stay home and just to be at home. So that was when I decided I needed to make a day just for podcast recording, and that day became Wednesday. Would be when I had my interviews. Well, then I needed a day to edit, which then became Mondays. So now my schedule looks like Mondays are my podcast editing day, Wednesdays are my podcast recording day, and I fit most of my clients in Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I have a couple groups, and there are occasions that I will work a Saturday morning. But again, in terms of juggling, I don't have kids. So now things are going to heat up a little bit around here because we've got a new set of business partners, Doug and I. And as it starts to unfold, I will share it with you. But it looks like starting in May, I will be traveling even more than I have been. And that's the other thing. I have been traveling back and forth to Baltimore for one of our combined clients. And again, the beauty of the business of podcasting and even of coaching and personal training is that I can do it remote. So that's really great. That's really how I do it. And in terms of confidence, you just learn based on what happens to you. I had to realize that it's called in the podcasting world batching, like batch recording, batch editing, which means you set time aside. Like some people do their recording for the entire month, once a month. They'll have 8 different interviews on a Monday or on a Tuesday or whatever day they do it. And then they'll edit or they'll send it off to somebody else, and then they'll have the whole month done in just one setting. Now, I can't do 8 interviews in a row because I would lose some juice, I would lose interest, and I would not be as good. I can only do about 3 or 4 max in a day, and I need breaks in between. So, in terms of any advice I'd have for those of you running your lives, and again, I guess the flip side would be, besides cats and a husband with the kind of schedule that he had, or even with Doug and the schedule that he has, which it's actually challenging to work alongside of him sometimes because he's in the next room and he's pretty loud. So I can't really I can't focus and concentrate. So I've had to learn, and we've had to learn how to sort of balance the space because we live in a California bungalow house. So it's not very large. There's not 2 levels or 3 levels, and we're kind of on top of each other. So, and because of the relationship newness and the fact that we both have quality time as one of our love languages, I find myself wanting to work less. So the good news is that I did sort of work less, although I traveled more last year, and I also made more money. And that's going to change in May. I'll be traveling a little bit more. So my advice to you, all of you, would be to, obviously, if you have a job let's say if you have a job that you hate, which is something that, well, you have to decide if your inner soul appreciates this. If you make a lot of money and that's important to you, maybe you're a Virgo or a Taurus or a Capricorn, and financial stability is the most important thing to you ever. See, to me, I would never sell my soul. And I'm not saying that you're doing that, although some of you are, but I would never sell my soul. People can pay. I don't care how much money you're going to pay me. If it's against something that feels good to me, I'm not going to do it. So I don't chase money in that way. Some people chase money, which is why then, anyway, that's a whole nother separate conversation or potential podcast. So let's say you hate your job. But you've decided you're not leaving it, and that's fine. I would recommend that you find something creative and something that brings you joy. Like whatever lights you up the most, like the best thing ever, whether it be artistic, like painting or drawing or singing or dancing, that you do it. Like it's not wouldn't that be nice? It's actually critical. It's critical to use your creative juices, because that's where we get bogged down in life, is when we're not utilizing our creative energy. That creative energy is also attached to your emotions. So if you're emotionally constipated, or if you have back pain, or you feel like a little edgy, or you have resistance to everything, or you're grouchy, or you're depressed, most likely you're not tapping into utilizing your creative energy. Every single person on the planet has creative energy that needs to be expressed. So find a way for you to express it if you can't do it at work. So for me, the podcast actually helps me to deliver some of that creativity, which is why my work isn't work, it's fun and I enjoy it. And also I'm a messenger. So I realized as we were at Shiva yesterday for Doug's family, and his brother's funeral, that I'm, the least important person in the room, right? So because I'm new and Doug has a couple ex-wives and kids and cousins and anyway, and because of the state of the relationship of everybody, I just sort of keep my head down and my mouth shut. Well, I talk for a living. I talk with you here. I have sessions, personal sessions with people. And so I'm talking, and not just talking. You guys know me. I don't just talk about stupid crap. I don't need to hear myself talk. If it's not purposeful, I'm not interested in it. But I'm listening. I'm supporting Doug. And I have done this for a couple of days. And so what I noticed that last night, I met one of his high school friends who he graduated with and his wife. And we all got to talking, the three of us. And thank you, Stacy, in case you listen to this. And so I'm talking to Stacy, and she's looking at me, and her eyes are bright, and she's interested in what I'm talking about, and she likes spirituality. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was really talking. I just kept talking. And so Stacy, I apologize. I would love to talk with you a little bit more and listen a little bit more. So after she walked away, Doug asked me some questions, and I went, oh my God, I think I just talked the whole time, because it was my creative outlet. It was my sharing the things that I'm passionate about. And luckily, I read the signals correctly. She seemed interested. They wanted to take me home with them. They asked Doug if they could take me home with them. So I wasn't overstepping boundaries where someone was giving me body language and signals that they weren't interested. I'm not trying to convince somebody who isn't interested in this information to listen to me. I'm not doing that. I'm actually quite aware of how many people don't care or give a shit, and that's totally fine. So because I talk and because I share and because I problem solve, that helps me to keep my creative juices flowing. So if you're in a job you hate, it's not a recommendation, and oh, wouldn't that be nice? It is a recommendation for your health, for you to find a way to express your creative juices, however that is for you. Dancing, singing, artistic, take a class, travel. That's why a lot of people like to travel. It's because you get out of your comfort zone, you get out of your normal daily routine, and you feel free. It's really important that you feel free. And it's important that even if you don't think you're free, that you find a way to acknowledge that you really are free. For instance, in the case where a lot of people think, well, I have a job and I can't do this and I can't do that, and you feel restricted. Well, you could quit your job. Now, is that a smart idea? For most of you, probably not. Is it a smart idea to change jobs? Well, I don't know your circumstances. But it's important that the story that you tell yourself helps you to feel good about your choices. There's nothing worse in the body than when you go against what you think is best. If you have a belief that says, like for me, for instance, oh, I can't eat this thing, let's say dairy, it's going to hurt my system or something, and then I eat it, there's more of a negative effect on my system because of the belief and the energy I have around it. So my next bit of advice for a lot of you would be to find a way to tell a story in your current situation that helps you feel good. So let's say, I know a few of you are in jobs that you don't love because you're waiting for retirement. And so you have 1 or 2 years left before you're going to retire. You see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it doesn't necessarily make the daily grind any better. So it could be that you take 10 minutes every day to appreciate what the current job provides for you. It provides you stability. It provides you a regular paycheck. It provides you a space in which you can not do what a lot of entrepreneurs do, and which is some people chase money pretty quickly. And then we live in fight or flight a lot of times. It's all about survival at the beginning sometimes. Or some people have a lot of success at the beginning, and then somewhere in the middle something happens and they lose their biggest client, or their industry blows up, and the next thing you know, they're in survival mode. So when you have a regular job in which you actually do keep your job and they don't fire you, they don't downsize, they don't change. I mean, the idea of control and stability in a job is an illusion. You really could lose your job at any point in time. With that said, I'm not saying get anxious about it and be, and feel badly about that, or be worried about that, but it's the reality. And so, when you're not controlling how money comes to you, in terms of how many outlets you have, right? In investing, they'd say you have all your eggs in one basket. So if you're not diversifying your income and how you get paid, then at any point in time, things can change. And hopefully they won't for you if you enjoy what you do, but it's part of the reality. And when you're an entrepreneur, there's absolutely no stability except in your ability to work. So if you don't love your job, if there are parts of your life you don't love, but you're unwilling to do anything about it, to change it, the best thing you could do is make peace with it and to appreciate and acknowledge all the things that it provides you on a regular basis in a real way, not in a lip service kind of way, but in a real way. And that will help you to feel better. Now, when it comes to juggling schedules and things, I can't help you there. I can help you personally, but I couldn't help all of you at one time. I do know that for a lot of you who work jobs that, whether you love them or not, and you have a family, it is harder to find time. But here's the thing, in what I just said, most people say that. They say, find time. I have to find time. You're never going to find time. There's 24 hours in the day. It doesn't change. What you need to do is schedule time. I do this for my workouts. I do this for time with Doug when we do our practice in the morning on Mondays and Wednesdays. I schedule time. So you schedule your exercise. You schedule your date nights. Heck, we even schedule sex, not in terms of the time of the exact time, but the days, because then if I know it's coming, then I can do my part to be ready and prepared. Because for women, again, we're an oven. So, I have some time to heat up, and I'm not going to be just ready at the drop of a dime like a guy could be. So for me, again, it's not on the schedule on a certain time frame, but it is scheduled. So don't fool yourself into thinking that you're suddenly, especially if you have kids and a job and a spouse, that all of a sudden you're just going to have time, free time. Oh my God, I have free time. That doesn't happen, especially not in the world we live in with how quickly information is given and passed around. So I would absolutely recommend that you all use a scheduler. I love my pencil using writing in the book daily planner. Why? Because I'm looking at it, and because most people who put it in their phone, I'm not saying don't use your technology, but there's something really, it gets into your brain in a different way and to your nervous system when you actually can put it down on paper and you see the different time slots. So block off your time. If you're not used to using a scheduler, definitely get a paper one to start, or attempt to use your phone or your iPad or your computer or whatever. But schedule the things that are important for you, and maybe take a look at how you manage your time and manage your sleep and manage your everything. And I know it takes the spontaneity out of it. That doesn't mean you still can't be spontaneous. It just means that you feel good about getting in all the things that you keep telling yourself you're going to get in, and then you don't, quote unquote, find the time. So it has to be scheduled for you to at least get into the habit of it. Now later, for instance, Doug and I have a 2:00 gym appointment on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which of course we're not keeping this week because we're not home. And we didn't keep when we were in Santa Fe. Although I did want to exercise every day, but altitude sickness did not make that possible. So if you can get into the habit every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2:00, then eventually it just becomes habitual and you don't need to put it in the calendar because you know what that time frame is going to be. But as you start to change your behavior, you are going to need to do a different practice. So I think that's the question. Johanna said, how you juggle, I think would be an awesome podcast. Would love to hear more about the way you keep balance and still keep many passionate projects and work going the way you do. Oh, I'll say two more things to that. So on the health side, the regular health regimen that I keep is that I'm working out about 2 to 4 times a week, 2 times at the gym and 2 cardio sessions at least outside, whether it be a walk or a rollerblade. So let's say it's about 4 on a good week, it's 5 on a better week, and it's 2 on average, 2 or 3. So the exercise is scheduled and it has its very specific time. I also have acupuncture every week or every other week. I usually have a chiropractic adjustment, and I used to have a massage every week, but that's changed to every couple of weeks. So I keep my physical body really balanced, or try to, with how I take care of it. And again, it's in the schedule, it's regular, and I'm committed to it. So in terms of how I keep many projects, passionate projects and work balanced, here's something that I think is important for any of you that are working your own business or considering working your own business or get a lot of creative ideas. Over the years, what I've had to learn is that because I'm so creative and I always have ideas, content will never be an issue for me. It's about being in alignment with the idea and about the divine timing of the idea. I don't know if many of you heard me talk about back in the first Releasing What Weighs You Down in 2018. I had a product that I got from a company. I loved it. I was sharing it with people. But they were very unresponsive. And what had happened is I decided, and I made a proclamation, that I would make it if I couldn't get them to respond to me or to participate in my events. I was kind of joking. And then about a week later, as I was taking one of my walks, it hit me, oh my God, I'm really going to make this product. I have no idea how to do it, but I'm going to do it. So then I started down the path of researching and asking people, and I actually have a lot of contacts in the industry who have worked with labs and people that create products. And it's very interesting how none of the leads led me to a lab that I could actually work with. They were all either ready to drink drinks, which would be liquid, or the amounts were too much. Like the starting amount was 2,000 pounds of dry goods, which I think is going to be too much for me to start with. But I couldn't find anybody. So you know what that says to me? It's not the right time. So that project, and I didn't work it extensively, but that's not a project that's in alignment right now. So I put it down. So being able to discern your ideas and know that if it's a great idea and if it's the right idea at the right time, things will line up in a way to show you this is the path you need to go down right now. And whether you keep a journal or a notebook, I used to think that every idea that I had needed to be created. And of course, I got very burnt out very fast doing a lot of things that didn't bring any income because I didn't test out any of my ideas. I just made stuff and thought people would buy it. And then they didn't. And then I thought, well, what's the problem with this? It's a great idea. People need this. Well, there's a difference between what people need and what people will buy. So I figured that out over the first several years of being a business owner. So when it comes to passion projects or things you want to accomplish, whether it be in business or, side projects, cleaning your garage, doing a scrapbook, whatever it may be, there are times where it will fit in flow better than others. And let's take one more example. My ex-husband would always want me to clean out the garage and throw things away. Well, that's probably like the least favorite thing that I could ever do. But he knew how to set it up for me. So if we scheduled it, let's say it was on a Saturday morning, he gave me a start and an end time. So it was, an hour or maybe 2 hours max. He would play my favorite kind of music, which is reggaeton and salsa. He might make me a cocktail or pour me a mimosa or something. And he'd sit there with me and be very supportive. So that created an environment where I'm more likely to do this stupid chore that I don't want to do because he gave me all the right elements. So, that was creating a great environment to accomplish something that was more important to him than it was to me. But for me, when it comes to balancing out and discerning, what do you act upon? To me, you act upon what feels the strongest impulse in the moment. And then on a logical side makes sense. And on a divine timing side, things start to fall into place. I think that if you go down a path and nothing is falling into place and everything feels like a struggle, it's a clear signal not to do it. It might not be that it's a bad project or a bad idea. It just might be not the right time. Or it might be that you have to do it and are going to be led to do it in a better way. So however you hear that, for those of you that are super creative, and then also testing. The things I learned over the years as an entrepreneur is that when you have an idea, test it. And if you get a good response, you guys are all a product of that, of testing out Fit to Love and then making Fit to Love into 5 or 6 different shows and having spirit, purpose, and energy and having absolutely no attachment to spirit, purpose, and energy. I had no products. I had nothing. And over the years, I've built everything around you. the feedback, the questions, the involvement, and again, assessing what I think a lot of you need, because you've written to me, you ask me, you hire me as your coach. So I'm getting to know and feel into A, what you want, and B, what you need. And a lot of my programs have come out of this podcast. So it's that co-creation that's really exciting, because I know I'm testing it with you. It's not just my ideas about what the world needs. The shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah, shoulda. Yeah, should everybody do something? Of course. Are they going to? No, of course not. So that would be really an overview, a very quick overview of sort of the top level thinking processes from the creative side to the logical side, and having a schedule. It's really very freeing when you can feel good knowing that you have put and created time or set time aside in your week to feel good about all of the self-care that you can do, spending time with a loved one, spending time with your kids, quality time, maybe even rest time. I mean, heck, put a nap in there on a Saturday or a Sunday. Schedule a freaking nap, or schedule do nothing time. Doug and I've had to do that. Well, I do that, but I taught him about it last June, because I said, we're going to need a do nothing day. And then when we went to Cabo in October, I said, look, this is an unplugged vacation. Can you do that? I need to be unplugged, and I'd like us to connect and also, but mutually be unplugged. And he had no problem. And it was great. We were unplugged for a whole week. So there's how I do it. I hope some of that inspires some of you to maybe make some adjustments that might serve you better. Remember, we are in a pretty powerful retrograde, and all of these life choices and relationships are going to be called for you to take a look at them and maybe make a change, whether it be release the patterns, release the people, or shift, and again, use some discernment on what's best for you and how do you get that accomplished, and what is it time to let go of and walk away from, because it doesn't serve your highest good at this point in time. We can always leave the door open for frequencies and things to change, but sometimes you can't force anyone else or anything else to show up for you in a way that's better for you, right? You have to only work on yourself. So hopefully that was helpful. And again, apologies for not having a show up earlier this week. We will be back to 2 shows next week. We've got a lot of great interviews coming down the pipeline. So thanks again for being a listener. I really, really appreciate your involvement. And I hope you're enjoying a great March. And again, if you're not on the challenge, just remember there is a retrograde. Take it easy. Be kind to yourself. Be nurturing to yourself. And I look forward to connecting with you again next week.